So yes, in today's ZK session, we're going to be mapping the L2 landscape. And I wanted to give a really brief, very brief intro to L1 and L2, the concept, because I realize there might be some folks here who aren't super familiar with it. L1s, like the most common L1 that is being referred to is Ethereum. So these are like base chains. These are existing blockchains. And L2s are like kind of additional chains that are able to use the security of the L1. And so the L1 tends to have very high security. And because of certain cool mechanisms, the L2 can actually capture that security as well. John Adler, thanks for doing the sanity check with me before. You made that very clear. But L2s also have this additional property that is potentially higher throughput and cheaper transactions. And this is the part that we're going to be focused on for today's event. We're looking at L2 solutions, primarily L2s that are already on the market. But I hope that in our kind of later conversation, we can even maybe start to experiment or think of new ways that L2s could even exist. We have some awesome speakers for today. We have Alex G from Matter Labs, Mark T from Optimistic, Stellar Mag, and Jordy B from Hermez. Two of those speakers are also sponsors. So I want to say a big thank you to Hermez Network, which is a decentralized ZK rollup focused on scaling payments and token transfers on top of Ethereum, as well as MolochDAO, which is a DAO that awards grants to advance the Ethereum ecosystem. I feel like both of these sponsors are super, super relevant to this event. And I want to say a thank you to the sponsors because this is why I can do this event for free. If you're interested in potentially sponsoring future events, I would love to hear from you. But I want to say a big thank you to these two groups for this one. Cool. So the event will be happening on this platform, as long as it doesn't break on us. It should be good. Yeah, so it's going to be here. And it's also going to be on something called gather.town, which I'll be sharing later. It's like if you were here last time, we did it last time as well. It's like you get a little avatar, you can meet and greet and talk to other participants. It's pretty neat. But yeah, we have a gather.town, as WayJ just pointed out. And if you have, it's actually the same location and password as last time. So if you have that link, you can already kind of check it out. But I'll be sharing that at the end. And I'd love it if we can all go there after the panel. A little bit about this version of ZK Sessions. It's going to be a number of talks. And then we're going to do something called the Park Bench Panel. The Park Bench Panel is something I used to do in live events. It's like a rotating panel where you have panelists kind of come up and get off the stage. I have no idea if it's going to work in this format, but I really want to try because when it works, it's very cool. So I hope you'll stick around and experiment with us. I want to just say a few words about like kind of the Zero Knowledge podcast and myself and like what I've been working on. So this is all brought to you by the ZKPodcast. That's probably how you best know me and this kind of ecosystem. But if not, do for sure like check it out afterwards. There's also something like I want to share a few different channels that you can check out if you want to be involved in the ZK space. One is ZK Mesh. This is a newsletter. By the way, I'll be sharing all of these links in the chat really soon. Or John, actually, if you have the links, this would be a good time to start putting them in. ZK Mesh is a newsletter. You can sign up for that. It's a monthly newsletter where we share like links and research and articles all focused on zero knowledge research and privacy tech on the blockchain. There's also the ZK Telegram, YouTube, and Twitter. The YouTube is where you will find these videos after the fact. So yeah, check that out as well. There's also I think there's a couple links there, but there's also a blog, something kind of newish. We've been doing it for a few months. We've been keeping a really good cadence of one blog post a week. We talk about things that we talk about on the podcast, but also zero knowledge deep dives. The most recent one is from WayJ, which is a really good piece. Do check that out if you're curious. And we are always looking for contributors. So if you're also thinking of like writing around this topic, this might be a good place for you to try it out. It's not like a full-on magazine. It's still a work in progress. We're still kind of figuring out where it's going to live and are we going to stay on Medium. But like in general, we want to start building that group of contributors and some of that content. And here's the podcast, which I assume you kind of already know, but yeah. So if you are interested in supporting this, maybe this event or the podcast in general, There are direct donations. There's links to that if you want. You can tweet about us. You can share this and other events. You could introduce me to your smartest friends who you think should be on the show. That's a really, or on one of these ZK sessions. There's also right now the Gitcoin CLR matching on. If you are ever thinking of donating, now is a great time because your donation gets matched. If you haven't seen us there, keep this in mind. It would be awesome to have some of your support. All right. Oh yeah, and other ways to support are sponsor the podcast or sponsor events. I want to highlight that the next ZK Sessions is going to be a little bit different. I'm planning on doing a ZK Jobs Fair. So this should be actually more like very interactive, potentially more like gather.town with a lot of little booths. I want to find a way to connect the pool of students or devs or like kind of blockchain enthusiasts with the teams who might be doing some recruiting. So this could be a really interesting place to meet people. We're going to be doing this as part of ZK Proofs as well, which is another event run by a different organization. We're probably going to be kind of like a side event to that. We're still working out the details, but that will be sometime in April. And that's the next ZK session event. After that, we'll go back to the hop-in and kind of the regular talks like this one. And since I have a privacy-focused community here with me, I'm also going to mention that we're doing a Cosmos Privacy and ZKP showcase. But for this event, I'm wearing a different hat. I'm wearing my ZK Validator hat. So that's put on by the ZK Validator, not the podcast, but I will also be there, and it's also about privacy and zero knowledge proofs. We're going to share a link to that as well in the chat. Cool. All right, so let's talk about mapping the L2, sorry, not ZK, mapping the L2 landscape. Oh, yeah, that was the end of my slides. I'd like to invite up our first speaker and one of our sponsors from MolochDAO. So thanks everybody for this, and we are going to kick off with our programming.
Hello,
nice.
Everyone. Can you hear me all right, I assume?
We can hear you pretty good.
Okay, great. And then I'm gonna get this presentation in order. Okay. Yeah, so I am Stellar Magnet, and I have a short little presentation about how mapping L2 needs U2. So today we're launching a scaling survey, which is a very short survey that's aimed at decision makers for Ethereum-based application development teams, especially ones that are in the process of researching scaling solutions to adopt further application or in the implementation phase. So the objective is to get more quantitative data as an ecosystem about which scaling solutions teams are selecting and why, different factors, and also like different research that went into it as far as what other solutions were evaluated before selecting specific solutions. I'd like to give thanks to a few people for providing input to this survey beforehand. James Young, Nick Dodson from Fuel gave some input. Lily is a UX designer in the Ethereum ecosystem, and Anna too for giving it a look yesterday and giving some good feedback. So I want to try to get as many people filling this out as possible in the next 2 weeks. I say 2 weeks because I feel like people are making decisions fast, and this information would probably be very useful for new teams to understand where the ecosystem is going and why. But we can probably still keep the survey open longer than that, but I want to try to see how many people we can get to fill it out in the next 2 weeks. It's actually a very easy survey to take. It's all like multiple choice. You don't have to type up descriptions for anything. So I feel like it might take about 10 minutes or less to take it. So if you can, take it yourself, if you're a team that is adopting a scaling solution, or if you know people that are, decision makers leading this, it would be really great to distribute this. And the link is very easy to access. It's linked on our homepage too, MolochDAO.com or MolochDAO.com/scaling. And I guess one of the perks of filling out a survey is we can also provide anonymized results before we publish it publicly. So if you put your email address in the survey too, you can get early access to how things are looking. Especially, you know, in the survey we ask you if it's okay to be public with your responses, or if you want to be anonymized. So if you say you want to be anonymized, before we share out the answers to everyone, we'll make sure to adopt the different preferences that are specified in the survey. So that is a little bit about, you know, how you can help out some Moloch initiatives with just taking a simple survey. But there are some other ways to get involved in MolochDAO too. Right now, we're seeking unbiased researchers to join us in the DAO. I started helping with MolochDAO more last year, and basically, like, the strategy is, like, you know, we should be doing more research, more thorough research before making grants decisions. So, so this research report initiative is basically a new way that I think MolochDAO should make grants funding, is by you know, thoroughly researching categories, publishing those research, and then reaching out to the team, seeing if a grant would help them. So yeah, right now we have you know, 7 different research reports planned, but one of them is about scaling Ethereum via L2, or scaling. I think it's like, what is L2? Sometimes it's like, is it a side chain, or is everything L2? But anyway, that is something that's confusing sometimes. But anyway, so this is one research report you can get involved with. And if you go to MolochDAO.com, you can also access the research report page as well. And then there's another way to get involved in MolochDAO right now too, which is with a new guild system. So for example, guilds can have different types of projects that they're interested in researching and getting funding for. Right now, guild called Guild 1 for now. That's the guild that I'm a part of. It doesn't have a name yet, but I started it because I was interested in MolochDAO funding more projects related towards privacy and user experience, actually. So even though in this presentation right now I'm talking about scaling L2, that's more of like a general task I'm doing. I wouldn't say it's like a specialty of the guild that I'm trying to form within MolochDAO, but for example, it would be great if a guild was formed that was specifically focused on, you know, layer 2 scaling. So if you're interested in starting that sort of guild within MolochDAO, you know, let me know. I'm going to be in Gather Town after this, in the after party. So if you have any questions about guilds, research reports, the survey, you know, let me know. We're trying to always figure out how to, you know, reinvent and improve MolochDAO. You know, we launched 2 years ago, and right now we have still about like 4.3 million assets under management. I mean, it wasn't like that a year ago, but since Ethereum, the value of Ethereum has exploded, it's a lot now. So, we're looking for, you know, really good, amazing teams and projects to fund, you know. So besides the guilds, besides funding research reports, we're also funding, you know, independent projects and teams too. So yeah, go to MolochDAO.com. You can submit your project for preliminary review. And again, yeah, our Discord is open now too, and the link to the Discord is on our website. And can follow us on Twitter, or can follow me on Twitter at Stellar Magnet. I think, are there any questions? Is there time for questions, or?
A little bit of time, if anyone has any sort of further thoughts or questions. But it sounds like, I mean, I guess they're going to be able to find you in the after party.
Yes.
At gather.town, and you've shared a few ways for them to connect. I guess if there's any projects out there looking for funding, this could be really interesting for them.
Definitely, yeah, and thanks for organizing this sessions. I think it's a very important topic, and happy to have helped sponsor it via Guild 1.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So thanks so much for this presentation.